Going to wait another minute and then we'll get started. Feel free to use the chat for any questions or comments. I'm glad you're here. All right. In the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I do know that some of our attendees have requested that I just share the recording with them. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Samantha, I'm glad you are here. All right. So first off, I am Lacey Glenn. I am the mom of 5 crazy rambunctious boys. I am a homeschool mom, former classroom teacher, and a certified parenting coach. I was once a mom who thought that I should know it all. I was an early childhood educator. I had a degree in early childhood education, and so I thought I should for sure know what I was doing. And I remember feeling so frustrated when I couldn't quite get a grip on how to discipline my, how should I put it, strong-willed child. And I remember sitting with him and being really frustrated that timeout didn't work and really frustrated that time in didn't work and nothing seemed to get through to him. And I knew that there had to be a better way. And so that's when I started to research for what was a better way. And that's what led me to positive parenting, which eventually led me to becoming a parenting coach because I was able to find a better way. And then I found a love for sharing this better way with other parents. And so today at this webinar, I am going to be providing new tools for your toolbox. I passionately believe that most parents are doing the best they can with what they have and that they can do more if they have more. So my hope is that through this webinar, I can help you to have a little bit more. And so I want to do that. Approaches for effective and revolutionary parenting. I want to empower you to feel confident in your role as a parent. So that is my goal today. So I want to talk about the good enough parent. So sometimes we use the phrase as good enough and we think that that is not good enough. And I want you to put that out of your head. I want you to know that sometimes good enough is good enough. Sometimes doing the best you have with what you have is enough. So I want you to take the idea of being a perfect parent and I want you to throw that in the trash. There is no such thing as a perfect parent. I am not a perfect parent. There are still days where I become completely dysregulated and yell at my kids. Now, I will admit that those days are few and far between now, especially more than they used to be, but they do still happen. Speaking of my kids, I think one of them unplugged my computer. So I'm going to plug my computer back in before it dies. But they are few and far between, much less than they used to be. But they do still happen because we're human. And as humans, we can never be perfect. So I want you to take this idea of imperfection and embrace it. Embrace it as being authentic. Show up as your authentic self and being authentically yourself. And think about what power that gives your kids in making mistakes themselves. So if we want our kids to truly believe that it's okay not to be perfect themselves, they need to see us embracing not being perfect too. I know that for my kids, when they spill milk and I'm like, it's okay, it was just an accident, that it goes a lot further when they see me not being hard on myself when I make a mistake. It's the same thing. It's okay to be imperfect. And when we allow ourselves to be imperfect, we give our kids permission to be imperfect as well. So release the pressure of perfection. I want you to really imagine for a moment, visualize what it would be like to completely release yourself of the pressure to be perfect. Release yourself of the perfect pressure to be the perfect parent who shows up in the perfect way every minute of every day. Release yourself of the pressure to be the perfect parent who is present in every moment that your kid is around, showing up in every minute that they are around perfectly, because that's just not going to happen. Be authentic and be real. Show up and be present in a way that is real, and it's going to go a lot further. The next thing I want you to think about is managing expectations. Take small, manageable steps towards growth. You can't eat an elephant all in one bite. You cannot change what you've been doing your whole life in one day. Recognize that doing your best doesn't mean being perfect, and how you can manage your time and energy effectively. You cannot go from doing things one way to doing them this way in one day. You can't show up one way and then show up a completely different way the next day. You can't go from, you know, rewards and punishments and then the very next day not using them at all and expect it to work. You have to take small, manageable steps towards growth. You have to be able to say, okay, so today we are going to work on we're going to work on, I'm going to work on showing up in, I'm going to work on showing up during this time of the day and not yelling. I'm going to work on after dinner. I'm going to work on showing up after dinner with my kids, and we're going to work on cleaning up dinner together, not getting mad and not yelling and not using rewards or punishments to get them to help me clean up dinner. And we're going to work on that today. That is a small, manageable step. You're not saying we're gonna clean the entire house today. We're all going to get the entire house clean, and I'm not going to give you any rewards or punishments, but you're going to help me clean the house. That's not manageable, and it's not realistic, and it's not going to happen. And if you have that expectation, you are going to be disappointed. And then you're going to say, Lacey, I tried what you told me, and it doesn't work. So you have to find something small. So even if you're thinking, I'm thinking if you have smaller kids, Samantha, I know you have smaller, younger kids. You're thinking, okay, I want them to pick up their toys. I want them to pick up their toys when they're done with them. So I want to think about how could we do that in a small, manageable way? Okay, well, even just saying, I want to say blocks because my 3 and 5-year-old, they like to play blocks. So if I say I want them to pick up their blocks when they're done playing with them. So that's the thing I want to focus on. That's small and manageable. But if that's my expectation, that's still kind of vague. So I would have to even hone it down to be even more manageable and small. I would say, okay, I am going to help them remember to pick up their blocks when they're done with them. So that makes me have to be accountable because my expectation is they do it. That's not their expectation. They don't even care if they get picked up, quite honestly. So I have to be aware that they're playing blocks. Okay, I need to remember to help them clean them up. Okay, so now they're done playing blocks. Hey, Walker and Gunner, let's make sure we pick up those blocks because we're done playing with them. And then if they don't pick them up, I'm like, hey, I noticed you didn't pick up those blocks. Can I help you pick them up or can you pick them up on your own? I gave them a choice, which puts them in charge, kind of gives them some responsibility and some control over the situation. And then sometimes with my kids, I like to make it a game. Do you think Walker or Gunner, who can pick up more blocks in 1 minute? Let's go. And then I make it a game. But I made it small and I made it manageable. I didn't give rewards or punishments, and I made it fun. Manage your expectations. Chunk it up. Figure out what's important to you, and then see how you can grow in it. And then the last thing I want you to do to be this good enough, authentic parent is to give yourself some self-compassion. Recognize that you're doing your best and you don't have to be perfect. That idea of perfection is your enemy. And the more that you strive towards perfection, the more you are going to disappoint yourself and you're going to feel the weight of shame and you're going to feel the weight of regret. And those things are going to continue to dysregulate your nervous system. And then it's going to be a vicious cycle. And that vicious cycle is the exact place that I got the name for my parenting community, Made for More, because you are made for more than that vicious cycle that you get yourself stuck in. You are made for more than that. And I want with my whole being for you to get out of that vicious cycle and to embrace the joy and peace of parenting. But the first step is to release the lie of perfection. Okay. So the next thing I want you to be able to do is to enjoy time with your kids. Something that makes my heart so sad is to see parents who are missing out on the amazingness that is their own children simply because they don't know how to connect with them. Whether it be because they're too busy trying to be perfect, or they think they have to connect or show up in a certain way, or, sometimes the honest truth is that when they were kids, no one connected with or played with them. And so they just don't know how. And that's reality. And so you have to learn it. You have to learn it all over again. And that stinks. And it's sad, but it just is what it is. So, the best language for kids is play. That just is their language. That's how they learn. That's how they connect. That's one of the best ways to get through it to them is play. So, um, the power of play is so real and so true. And play is the pathway to connection and cooperation. It reduces stress and regulates the nervous system. I use play throughout our day in so many ways. It it just is one of those things that I constantly go back to. I used it as an example in getting my kids to clean up their blocks. I homeschool my kids, and so I use play a lot in their schooling. I use it a lot in when I need to break the tension. So, like, if I am seeing that they are, maybe even arguing with each other, and I'm like needing, you've seen those, like, what do they call them? The shirts where you have to like glue them together. I've done that. I've done like, you know, dance parties in the kitchen, and I've done like, challenges where I'm like, okay, for the next 10 or not 10, that would be way too long. For the next 2 minutes, you can't talk. Everything you do, you have to sing it. And, things like that, that just break the tension and it makes it more fun. And when you do that, it just naturally brings a joy to the household and it's fun. And when they're having fun, they're making memories and it's like going through their vagus nerve and it just is relaxing them and it makes it easier to connect. So you can turn their chores into games. You can use humor and creativity in their daily tasks. You can gamify just about anything these days. But play is real and it is so important. The other thing is be present. Prioritize quality over quantity in family time. So often I see parents that are like, well, I spend every single moment that they're home with them. And I'm like, that is great. What are you doing? If you are spending every moment that your kids are home with them, but you're all sitting on the couch on your devices, you're not really spending time with them. You're spending time next to them. Engage in mutually enjoyable activities. I have coached many parents who are like, I can't play with my kids because I hate playing Hot Wheels on the floor. And I'm like, Okay, I can respect that. Like I have played many a Hot Wheels on the floor and it is not everybody's jam. And I get that. That's fine. If Hot Wheels are not your jam, then sitting on the floor for an hour playing Hot Wheels is not going to be enjoyable for anyone if you don't like it. Get it. Find something that you enjoy and your kids can enjoy. Do you like cooking? Because in my experience, most kids can enjoy cooking. Not all adults like to cook with kids. So if that's not going to be something you enjoy, do not invite your kids in the kitchen because it is not for the faint of heart. It is an experience. My kids cook with me often. I am going to caution you if you want your kids to help you make dinner, you probably should start at like 2 in the afternoon if it's going to be done by dinner time because it is an experience. But go for a walk. Find something that you can both enjoy and do it together. Puzzles, I hate puzzles, but that's some people love them. Do those together. Read books. Find something that is mutually enjoyable. A common misunderstanding is that you have to sacrifice your enjoyment to do what your kids want to do. And that I don't believe that that has to be true. I think that you can find something you both enjoy and do it together, and that it will be more meaningful if you can both find joy in it. I also think that it is incredibly meaningful if you let your kids teach you something. So, like, I am absolutely horrible at video games, and my kids love to teach me video games, and they love to watch how terrible I am at them. They find a lot of joy in that, and I don't care. So that is something that they really enjoy. And we spend a lot of time, connecting over my absolute horribleness at video games. So find something that you guys can connect on, but make sure that you are actually spending quality time together enjoying activities. It doesn't matter the quantity of time you spend together if you are not actually engaging in mutually enjoyable activities. And then also foster connection. Create intentional moments that energize both parent and child. Now, this again is going to touch on that. You do not have to empty your cup to fill your child's cup. Energize both of you. Intentional moments that energize both of you to foster the connection. It is connection that goes both ways. Connection is so important, and we are going to talk about that over and over and over because cultivating presence and connection is so important. Tips for being fully present with children in a busy world. This touches on all of these things. Connection is the path for cooperation for children. It builds emotional security. When children feel connected to their parents, they feel safe to explore, learn, and take risks. It enhances communication. Strong connections make it easier for children to express their needs and for parents to understand them. I want you to think about that for a minute. It enhances communication, strong connections. So when you have taken the time to embrace the power of play, to be present, to foster that connection, then it makes it easier for your children to express their needs to you and for you to understand them. I think about that as my kids get older and as their needs and the things they need to express to me grow from little things like I need to go potty or I broke something to the bigger things, right? The bigger issues in life. And I just hope with all of my heart that I have laid that foundation. And as those issues become issues of, more importance, that they feel that comfort to be able to have those conversations. The next one is huge. It promotes better behavior. Connected children are more likely to listen, follow instructions, and engage positively. This is one I have seen firsthand. When your kids feel connected to you, when you have taken the time to engage in the power of play, be present, and foster that connection, they are eager to be better behaved for you. Not because you're going to reward or punish them, but because they just are. They are connected to you. They have a mutual respect for you. When you say, hey, could you please do this? They are more likely to just do it. because that is just the relationship you have. It supports emotional resilience. Connection helps children develop the emotional resilience needed to handle challenges and frustrations during the day. The more connected your child feels, the more cooperative and engaged they'll be. And isn't that what we all want? That is the number one thing I hear from parents is, how can I get my kids to listen to me? This is it, guys. This is how you get it. You have to take the time to form that connection. Here's those things we were just talking about. The emotional security. Children feel safe to explore and learn. Enhanced communication, easier for children to express their needs. Better behavior, connected children are more likely to listen. And emotional resilience, help children to handle challenges. This is one I've already touched on several times, and this is a big one, and that's cooperation without punishment and rewards. Now, sometimes when I say this to parents, they're like, wait, what? You get your kids to do things without punishing and rewarding them. What kind of witchcraft is that? But here, guys, I am here to tell you, I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine about this, and I stopped and I was thinking about it, and I was like, no, I mean, I really do. I really can. My kids really do things that I ask them to do without any kind of reward or punishment. And it all comes down to the connection that I have with them. Okay, so the first thing, well, first of all, before I get into this, I want to talk about the why. Punishment and rewards don't work long term. The science behind behavior has pointed to the fact that extrinsic motivators can be harmful. They simply just aren't good for our brain development. And the long term impact of a punishment and reward systems on our relationships is detrimental. It is not good for forming the kind of connected relationship that we are desiring to make. When we just talked about the kind of connected relationship we're wanting, the one that creates the better behavior, the one that creates the relationship that has our kids ready and willing to have the hard conversations with us, the one that makes kids that desire to behave in this way, it doesn't come from the relationship that is centered around a reward and punishment kind of system. It comes from the one that is centered around an intrinsic motivated system. So the very first thing we have to do is set clear expectations, create boundaries with empathy, doing this together as a family. Now, when I first learned about this, doing it together as a family thing, I was like, it was mind-blowing to me because I had never really thought about it. I always thought about the fact that parents set the boundaries and rules, and that's just what you do. But when your kids do it and they feel like they have buy-in, they're more likely to follow them because they feel like, well, we created this as a family, so it's our family value, which means I had a say in it, so why wouldn't I want to listen to it? So an example of this would be in our family, we sat down and we talked about it, and we talked about in our family, we value family time and connection. And so when it comes time for family time and connection, for example, a meal, or for example, we have in the evenings, we play a game together as a family, that's family time. And so during that time, we're not allowed to have screens. Me and my husband aren't allowed to have screens. The kids aren't allowed to have screens. No phone calls. Like that's just the rule. That's the boundary. And so during that time, it's very easy for us to enforce that boundary because we all agreed to it. In our family, we value family time. So our boundary is that we don't have screens during that time because our family time is too important. So another boundary would be in our family, our health is important. We value our health. So a boundary is that we don't go overboard with sugar and junk food. Now, of course, during the holidays, this is a terrible time to be talking about this one, but it's easier not easy because they are children, but easier to enforce that boundary when we talk about, well, in our family, we value our health. So is it healthy for us to have all of this junk food? What healthy choice could we make instead? And then, we can have a conversation about what healthy things we do. So to involve the family in that conversation. Now, when your kids are very young, Samantha, I know your kids are very young. I still have young kids. You have to kind of guide them on this, right? Like, it's easy for them to be like, well, I value Bluey, so I want to watch Bluey all day, every day. And then we'd have to talk about, why that's not something we value and what values look like and what we would talk about. And you just have an educational conversation about that, and that's fine. And you get them back on course and we talk about it. But they still get to be a part of the conversation. It's very, very cool to watch even what our young kids have to add to the conversation. Connecting with our kids brings cooperation, safety, and co-regulation. When we connect with our kids, we create a sense of safety and security that fosters trust. Connection is the foundation for cooperation. When kids feel seen, heard, and valued, they're more likely to cooperate. So when they get a chance to have a say in what they value and what the boundaries need to be, they're more likely to cooperate with those. And co-regulation happens when we help our kids manage their emotions through our calm and connected presence. This strengthens their ability to self-regulate over time. So we are calm and regulated through setting the expectations, through carrying them out, and then we co-regulate with them. Now, this will go into encouraging our problem solving, fostering critical thinking in our kids. This goes through all of this, and I'll come back to this. I mean, I said it earlier than I should have, but so the next step is to encourage problem solving. Often we need to do this with our kids. When they come up with a problem, when something happens, they break something, they get into an argument with their siblings, whatever the problem is, they've lost something. This happens in my house, constantly going back to, that seems like an issue. What could we do about that? And then, helping them to solve that problem. Using positive reinforcement, apply in a meaningful, non-punitive way. And then handling resistance calmly, use natural consequences and consistent communication. I'm a huge natural consequence fan. Very huge natural consequence fan, like so much. My husband sometimes is like, oh my goodness, like he will pick up their things and put them away, and I won't. I'm like, well, if they can't find it, it will be a natural consequence for the fact that they did not put it away. And that's how they will learn to put their things away. But all of this, we need to remember that our job as parents is to come along our kids, come along our children and co-regulate them. Now, often what I see parents do is to come along our kids and co-escalate them. And what that would look like is coming along our kids and that's the yelling or the, what's wrong with you? Why would you do that? What were you thinking? And that's not going to help. That just brings them up and like rattles them and gets them escalating, right? But our job is to come alongside them and help them to calm. So we can't do that unless we can regulate ourselves. So we have to be able to do these things ourselves, create boundaries with empathy involving the family, be able to follow those boundaries, be able to follow those expectations. We have to be able to problem solve and use positive reinforcement. We have to be able to handle resistance calmly, natural consequences. We have to be able to do these things ourselves as parents, and then come along our kids and do them as well. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Okay. Now, this is a huge one, going to bed without shame. This is really big for parents, especially because this was huge for me when I was still struggling with some of the decisions I had made as a parent. And often I would go to bed at night and just kind of lay with my mistakes of the day. I would lay there and feel the weight of them and relive every moment that I did not show up in the way that I had wished I had. I would lay there and just feel it. And it would go right back to what we talked about in the beginning and the weight of it. Weight of every moment that I wasn't perfect. every moment that I didn't live up to those unrealistic expectations that I had set for myself. And I'm going to tell you right now, right along with that expectation of perfection that I told you to throw out the window, you got to throw the shame and guilt out the window. You got to find the root of it, find the root of the guilt and the shame. Often it comes from that expectation of perfection, and you've got to practice self-forgiveness and reframe every moment of failure as a moment to grow. Every moment you didn't show up in the way that you wanted to, I want you to rediscover it as a moment that you can show up better the next day. Now, the biggest difference for me in moments that I didn't show up in the way I wanted to then, and the moments I don't show up in the way I wanted to now, is that I learned the art of, I'm forgetting the word. My mind is drawing a blank on me. I learned the art of repair. So in those moments where my nervous system becomes dysregulated and I yell, or I say something I didn't mean, or I lose my temper, I've learned how to repair that relationship. And I've learned how to go to my kids authentically and humbly and say, you know what, buddy? I lost my temper and I'm really sorry that I yelled at you. And I hope you can forgive me. And I like to think in those moments, the example I'm setting for my kids. I like to think about the permission I'm giving them to be human. And I like to think about the example I'm setting for them of how to humble themselves when they make a mistake in life, and how it's okay to make mistakes in life as long as you're willing and ready to repair those things, to admit your mistakes, and then to accept the consequences that come after them. And then when I make the repair and I have the conversation, I can go to bed at night knowing that I did the best I could with what I had. And the next day, I'll be ready to do better. Another thing to do at night to help with that guilt and the shame is to have a positive bedtime routine. Create a family routine fostering connection. So in my family, even with my oldest kids, my oldest son is he's 12. We homeschool, so it's complicated. He's technically 6th grade, but he got bumped up to 7th grade in our academic co-op because of his academics. But anyways, but we still do family story time every night that we connect on. We do a Bible reading. We play board games together. We do lots of connection. But every night before they go to bed, a routine that I had learned from a friend is before we go to bed at night, to ask, or not even every night, but just occasionally to ask your kids, whether it be you've taken them out on a one-on-one date or you just have on one-on-one time, to humble yourself and ask them, hey, what could I do better as your mom? Whoa. Are you ready to ask your kids that question? Like, are you ready to hear what they have to say? Because it's humbling sometimes. At first, they're just going to be like, what? Or, like one of my kids is like, you could make lasagna. And I'll be like, okay. Like sometimes it's silly and sometimes it's real. And sometimes they have things to say that might shake you a little bit. But again, I want you to think about the example that you're setting for them, that you're willing to ask the question so that you can do better and you can be better for them. Think about what a positive bedtime routine would look like for you so that you can foster a connection, that you can use mindfulness to release any emotional weight that you may be carrying, that you can use self-reflection without criticism, that you can throw the perfection lie out the window, release shame and guilt, and pick up peace and joy. Okay, so what are the benefits of working with a parenting coach? Parenting coaches, before I became one, are something I had never even heard of, didn't know it was a thing. I feel like coaching is kind of taking the world by storm, and I am here for it. There are coaches for everything: marketing coaches, business coaches, personal fitness coaches, soccer coaches, football coaches, all the things, all the coaches. And just like I have all boys, so coaches are my life. But just like a soccer coach or whatever would coach you on the field to make you ready to play the game. And they would give you what you need and make you practice it so that in the game you'd be ready to use your skills. That's what a parenting coach does. They give you personalized support, strategies tailored to your individual family. And they give you accountability, ongoing encouragement, and guidance. And then just some proven success from past clients that I have worked with. I had one person recently share online a story. She had shared that one of her kids kind of made some not so great choices, and she had shared. I'm going to stop sharing just for a moment so you guys can see my face, and then I'll share again for the rest of the slideshows. But she had shared. Why doesn't it show my face? I don't know what's going on. Anyways, she had shared online that one of her kids had made some not so great choices. And in that moment, she showed up and she didn't lose her temper, which was something she used to struggle with. And she came alongside him and she had a conversation and she was like, you know what? It's okay that you were mad. Mad is okay. It's an okay feeling to feel. And then she talked him through the reasons he was mad, and she talked him through what it looks like to be mad and what her son could have done with it in the future. And they made a game plan for it. And I commented on her post and I was like, way to go. Way to accept that all feelings are welcome and valid. And she was like, Lacey, you taught me that. I would not have known to do that if it wasn't for you. So thank you. So that was one person's testimonial. And I have another client that I coached that had a similar testimonial, and I have a bunch of testimonials on my website that you are welcome to read if you are interested, but I did not copy and paste them. So, but that's that. I just wanted to pop on here so you can see my face, so you can see I really am here. It's not just. All right, now back to slideshow. Okay. Okay, so in my parenting program, I have 3 different options, and there is something for everyone. In the Made for More online parenting community, it is a Facebook parenting community, and it is imperfect parenting parents like you and me lifting each other up and adding to each other's toolbox. It is full of tips and tricks. You get support from me and from each other, and it is ongoing, and it is free to anyone that wants to join it. The next option is group coaching, and this is a new option, brand new. This is the first time I am announcing it right here. And it is 12 weeks, and it is going to be a book study. And the book we are going to be studying is called, the first book we're going to be studying is called The Peaceful Parenting Revolution, Changing the World by How We Parent. And along with that book, you will get a workbook written by me, that goes along with it. And it will be a Facebook group with weekly coaching calls with me that you can join live or get the recording for. You will get tips from me that go along with the workbook and the book, and will also be individualized to comments within the Facebook group. You will get support from me and peers, and along with joining their group, you will get one-on-one call with me. Plus, you will get added to the free Made for More community group. And that group coaching, the 12-week program, is only $50 to join. It's only $50, and it will be starting in mid-January. It will be starting in mid-January. And then the last option is the individual coaching, and this is our biggest one. It is the most in-depth with 12 weeks worth of curriculum. You get a workbook. It's an online workbook with an option to print. You get learning videos each week. You get book suggestions and more. You get a weekly 1-hour one-on-one coaching call with me, individualized to meet your own needs. You get personal communication as needed, which pretty much means you get me at your disposal. You get added to a graduates Facebook group for continued support upon completion of the program. You get personalized support structured to meet your family's needs, and you also get added to the group coaching access for the book study or whatever. And then you also get added to the Made for More community. And this is our biggest, most in-depth program. And so it also comes with the biggest price tag of $1,200. That's $1,200, which averages out to about $100 a week. Or it is $100 a week, actually. Okay, so this is where I will take a break from sharing, and this is your chance to ask me any questions. You can put questions in the chat. You can unmute and ask questions. You can raise your hand and ask questions. You can, I don't know, have a dance party and ask questions. Whatever you want to do. If you have any questions, you can ask. And I know you joined a little bit late, but there is a recording, so I can send that out so you don't miss anything. No questions? Okay. All right, all right, all right. All right, then I am almost done. Just one more thing to share. All right, so I just thought that this was a little bit cool. This is just 5 phrases. These are just, I didn't write these. These are just common little phrases or proverbs and to help you shift your perspective. And I thought these were cool. And when I read them, they kind of made me think of this program. And the first one is, what you give power to has power over you. It's not hard. You've just never done it before. Choice is the most powerful tool you have. Let today be today and tomorrow be tomorrow. And this last one is my favorite and is the one that resonated the most with me when it comes to this program. And it is, you can't change what's going on around you until you change what's going on within you. And with that, that is all I have, my friends. So I will be sure to send out this recording to everyone. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to text me or email me or send me an owl if you're a Harry Potter fan. All right, friends, I will see you all later.